You're watching News Central now on News Central Television. I am Lekan Onabanjo. The top stories at this hour. NLC warns against harassment over police invitation of Ajaero, threatens nationwide strike. Government to start sale of crude oil to Dangote Refinery in naira from October 1. Kenyan Police launches manhunt for psychopath serial killer. Details to come your way shortly. Let's begin in Nigeria's capital, Abuja, where Nigeria Labour Congress leaders, including its President Joe Ajaero, have met at the NLC headquarters for an emergency National Executive Council meeting. This comes after Ajaero was summoned by the Nigerian Police Force for an investigation into allegations of terrorism financing, treasonable felony, and cybercrime. The police had instructed Ajaero to appear for questioning at 10 a.m. today. At the end of the meeting, the body resolved to honor the invitation extended to its president by the police, but will demand an extension of the time given the nature of the invitation. The body condemned the continued harassment of the president of the NLC. It also resolved to shut down the nation should the police detain or arrest its national president, Joe Ajaero. In the meantime, the NLC has warned that if anything untoward happens to its president, it will lead to a major strike of workers. Speaking exclusively to News Central, the head of information and publicity of the NLC, Benson Opar, reiterated the position of the body.
The law-abiding of the Congress president will honor the invitation as a law-abiding citizen, and as you also know, the Nigerian Labour Congress is a law-abiding organization. So the Congress president will honor the invitation, but certainly not today. In fact, he has not even been served a hard copy up to the time that the NEC met. The hard copy of that invitation has not come. So the NEC asked for more time to enable the president honor the invitation. Certainly, the president is going to honor the invitation shortly. The NEC also went for that to resolve that in the event government takes advantage of Mr. President honoring the invitation and doing anything untowardly towards him, the NEC resolved that it will activate a nationwide protest. So these are the decisions of the NEC.
The federal government will begin selling crude oil to the Dangote Refinery in naira from October 1, following a decision made during a meeting led by the Finance Minister, Wale Edun. The Technical Implementation Committee reviewed progress on naira payments for crude oil sales and outlined rules for key stakeholders, including NMDPRA, the CBN, NUPRC, and Afrexim Bank. Zak Adedeji, chairman of the FIRS and the Technical Subcommittee, confirmed that the first PMS delivery from Dangote is expected next month. Finance Minister Edun emphasized the importance of transparency and directed the committee to finalize the arrangement and prepare a report for President Bola Tinubu. This follows the Federal Executive Council's July 29 approval of Tinubu's directive for NNPC to sell crude oil to refineries in naira. To discuss this, I am joined by partner Oil, Gas and Power Anderson, Nigeria, Chiwendu Enechi. Chiwendu, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Let me get your stance on the commencement of crude oil sales to domestic refineries in naira.
Well, I would say it's an interesting development. I believe the government's expectation is that this move will essentially increase the supply of PMS, ensure stability of pump price, and to a large extent reduce the pressure on the dollar-naira exchange rate. And I would say ideally, it should have some impact on those things I just mentioned. If you look at oil imports, oil products account for a large percentage of the total imports. So, of course, a reduction in imports of those products should have some impact on the dollar exchange rate. I think what the government is trying to do is to look at every avenue to reduce the issues that we all are facing as a result of the FX issues. If you take a look at the foreign exchange component of landing cost of PMS, for instance, before you look at under over recovery administration and all that, you have components like freight charges, traders margin, MPA, demurrage, and all that. Some researchers have established that these components usually account for about 27% of the total pump price of any petroleum product. So when you put this in financial terms, you realize the amount of money that would have been brought to the foreign exchange market to buy forex, to make this payment. So this move to sell crude to local refineries in naira should, to some extent, reduce the pressure on foreign exchange demand in this avoidable cost of imports. Of course, if you look at local refining of crude into PMS, of course, you have to reduce the logistic costs around PMS supply. But I think it's important to mention that some issues may be faced in implementation. So it's important that government, implements this properly. I understand that some of the independent petroleum producers, for instance, have kicked against the idea of selling some of their crude to local refineries in naira, as it seems to conflict with the spirit of willing buyer, willing seller framework that you have in the PIA. Some are pushing against how the allocations are being made, which is based on the demand of refiners, which may exceed what is needed for domestic consumption. So they are saying, why don't you look at what the domestic consumption is in determining what should go to each local refineries. So because you want to avoid a situation where refineries with excess capacity, beyond local consumption begin to exploit the domestic crude supply obligation. So I think it's important that government, look at how this is implemented, make sure that everybody is carried along. Because again, the local producers are saying that we don't want to be forced into an obligation that we're not part of. These guys have agreements running in 2 years. So for you to then make them sell a part of their crude to local refineries is what they are pushing against. So it's important that the implementation is properly done. Because we all know what the idea is, at the end of the day, the essence is to reduce the pressure that the FX market is facing as a result of lack of forex.
Okay, a part of the report also indicated that NNPCL has been authorized to use 2023 dividends meant for the Federation to fund fuel subsidies and likewise suspend the 2024 interim dividend payments to boost its cash flow. Let me get your thoughts on that too.
Yeah, essentially, in my view, one of the reasons for this is to help NNPC manage its cash flow. If you've been following the recent happenings, there have been allegations that most traders who supply PMS to NNPCL are refusing to honor the request from NNPCL due to its cash flow challenges. And everyone says NNPC is broke. So you then have a situation whereby there's been a reduction in the PMS coming into the country as tenders to buy PMS have sort of reduced drastically from about 850,000 tons, to what we used to have in the past was maybe about 1 million tons in previous months. So you then have a reduction to about 850,000, tons. So if NNPC is able to meet some of its subsidy obligation by using this dividend to offset some of that, of course it may have some impact on the supply of refined product in the short term. Now the reason I say short term is that NNPC may not be able to continue the subsidy payment for longer because of consistent increase in cash flow deficit, mainly because of the exchange rate. If you listen to the group's CEO in recent time, he said that NNPC might not be able to sustain import beyond July 2024 because of cash flow challenges. So what the government has done is to free up some cash for NNPC to be able to meet some of its obligations. So for me, I don't see any impact on supply of refined product to be sustained for a long.
Okay. All right.
Supply refined products, ability and all that.
Okay, Chiwendu Enechi, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us. Let's move on now. Motorists in Lagos are facing severe hardships due to the ongoing fuel scarcity, with many resorting to sleeping overnight at filling stations in a desperate bid to get fuel. Although the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited had said the shortages were caused by distribution challenges, it did not specify the cause of the current spike. New Central correspondent Bettina Imreli reports.
The fuel crisis has reached a critical point here in Lagos, with long queues at petrol stations becoming a common sight. Drivers are facing hours of wait time, and some stations have shut down entirely due to lack of supply. Many Lagosians are growing increasingly frustrated as they struggle to fill up their tanks, while the scarcity causes disruptions in transportation, affecting businesses and daily commutes.
Everything, but be pushing one wàhálà ni come gbogbo ẹ wálẹ̀ tó bá tẹ̀ jẹ́ kó wọ́n báyìí náà ó ti yé ká máa ríra.
It has affected me greatly and deeply. This morning I'm supposed to be in Aja, but because trying to get fuel and the traffic, the queue in the filling station isn't allowing me to get fuel and move the time I'm supposed to move. It's really affecting me. Since last week, I'm not able to do anything. Please let our government intervene.
Without the fuel in my car, I cannot go for my daily living and my daily basis of business. So I've been here for at least 2.5 hours.
In response to the crisis, Olufemi Shoneye, Chief Corporate Communications Officer of NNPCL, posted a video of Umar Ajiya, the CFO of NNPC Limited, on his X page, attributing the supply shortages in parts of Lagos and the Federal Capital Territory (FCT) to distribution challenges. He also denied reports that the NNPC is indebted to international oil traders to the tune of $6.8 billion and that it has failed to remit revenues to the Federation account since January.
We have seen also information out there that the company is over-leveraged. That is far from true. The borrowings we have made so far by this company as outstanding at the end of 2023 are about 5 in number, 2 of which have also been fully repaid.
While the authorities continue in their efforts to alleviate the situation, citizens may have to learn to conserve fuel and limit non-essential travel as a survival strategy, and of course, to ease pressure on limited fuel supply. In Lagos, for News Central, Bettina Nwili.
We also tell you that the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria has raised concerns over the shortage of premium motor spirits, also known as petrol, affecting its members across the country amidst a widespread scarcity. The umbrella body, which boasts over 3,000 members and controls a significant share of Nigeria's filling stations, also accused the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited of failing to supply adequate products to its members. The chairman of IPMAN, Oredepo Shinoamo, claimed that NNPCL, as the sole importer of petroleum products, has not provided sufficient supplies to IPMAN for the past 3 years, leading to a dire situation for its members. The NNPCL had, through its Chief Corporate Communications Officer, Olufemi Shoneye, stated that the oil firm was working hard to tackle the fuel supply challenges, stressing that the queues should clear by midweek. News Central's correspondent Chiwe Ogele joins us now to give us an update on the fuel situation in Abia State. Chiwe, over to you now. Let's know what's it like looking at the fuel scarcity in that axis of the state.
Good evening. Thanks for having me. There's no scarcity that people in the Southeast, especially here in Abia State, are experiencing. What's discussing frustration down here may just be the rising cost of, petroleum products, such as PMS and kerosene and all the rest of them. But then there's no scarcity, as it were. People go into petrol stations where they are dispensing, buy petrol, and then go their way. So the road I'm standing on actually is known for lots of petrol filling stations. We have not less than 15 filling stations on this road, Abia Road here in Umuahia. But then about 5 of them are selling. Yes, there are no queues. So, but then the price is quite high from what it used to be. So that's the situation here in Umuahia.
That's quite interesting because in Abuja, Lagos, and some other parts of the country, there is massive fuel queues, and people are not able to buy fuel. Is there anything that helps us understand how the distribution of fuel is in Abia State that makes it possible for people to be able to buy this commodity without hassle?
I wouldn't say, but I think it's basically because the marketers may have been buying at higher rates because they are actually selling at higher rates. A liter of petrol goes for between 850 naira to 920 naira in Umuahia, the Abia State capital. So if and a lot of people are not willing to just be on the queue and wait for NNPC for when they will begin to sell products to citizens. So they just go into these petrol stations from the independent marketers and purchase at whatever rate they have put it at. I think that's basically one of the reasons why we do not have queues, because the citizens have accepted to pay whatever rate that the marketers have put their prices at. So that's basically what's happening down here. But overall, no scarcity. I even saw most filling stations here have about to offload or unload their products. Their tankers are right inside the filling stations waiting to unload products.
Chiwogele, thank you so much for the updates. We will continue to keep tabs with you to get more details, but then we appreciate the fact that you're able to talk to us at this time. You're watching News Central now. A break will do here. We still have more to come. Don't go away. Many thanks for staying with us. The Labour Party has described comments credited to the Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, Benjamin Kalu, as childish and immature. Deputy Speaker Kalu had at the weekend, in a viral interview, vowed that Governor Alex Otti would be the last Labour Party governor in Abia State. This has since elicited comments and reactions from the citizens. Chiwogele interviewed the National Vice Chairman, Southeast, and the State Chairman of the party with some residents.
Before he makes any utterance, he should look at his position and then the weight of that utterance or statement.
Those comments of the Deputy Speaker, House of Representatives, Ben Kalu, did stir up concerns over the weekend among citizens and party faithful alike.
Everybody has a liberty of opinion.
The leadership of the Labour Party in the zone says the party remains a strong force to contend with in 2027.
Labour Party cannot, will not, and will never be threatened by the statement accredited to Ben Kalu. Of course, Ben spoke as a small god. He arrogated power he does not have to himself. We know, very frankly, that their strategy of grabbing it, snatching it, and running away will not work in Abia.
The state chairman of Labour Party, Emmanuel Otti, insists the governor will remain in the party.
He wouldn't shift. Because I know him too. Even if I'm sleeping, I've analyzed him. I've analyzed his character, political character.
The Deputy Speaker had in the same video
before he makes any utterance, he should look at his position and then the weight of that utterance or statement. conference.
Those comments of the Deputy Speaker, House of Representatives, Ben Carlo, did stir up concerns over the weekend among citizens and party faithful alike.
Everybody has a liberty of opinion.
The leadership of the Labour Party in the zone says the party remains a strong force to contend with in 2027.
Labour Party cannot, will not, and will never be threatened by the statement accredited to Ben Carlo. Of course, Ben spoke as a small god. He arrogated power he does not have to himself. We know, very frankly, that their strategy of grabbing it, snatching it, and running away will not work in Abia.
The state chairman of Labour Party, Emmanuel Oti, insists the governor will remain in the party.
He wouldn't shift. Because I know him too. Even if I'm sleeping, I've analyzed him. I've analyzed his character, political character.
The Deputy Speaker had, in the same video, claimed that Governor Alex Oti was taking credit for the president's effort. But CK Igara challenges him to name the efforts usurped by the governor.
I also challenge him to let us know that all the works being done by Dr. Alex Oti, whether it is Tinubu that is doing it.
The citizens believe it is up to the electorate to decide through the polls who becomes the governor of Abia State come 2027.
It cannot determine the tenure of this of Governor Oti. You can't determine that.
It is the electorate that will decide and God what happens in 2027.
There is also the individual assessment of Governor Alex Oti's performance in office.
The governor has done a lot. In fact, he's still serving grace at this particular hour.
But looking at what the man has done so far in this place, I think he deserves a second term.
But then, it is now in the governor's court to decide whether to jump into another political party or remain in the party that brought him to power. In Omahafoni Central, Chinwe Ugele.
To further discuss this, I'm joined by Elvis Akpobi, Executive Director, Not Too Young to Run Initiative. Thank you so much, Elvis, for joining us on the news.
Thank you for having me. It's not too young to lead.
Okay, that's duly noted. Now, we're talking about a Nigerian lawmaker who has said that he's going to unseat a democratically elected governor in 2027. What do you make of such statements and the so-called Nigerian democratic values?
You know, in the course of this statement, I think you use the word democracy and all that. For me, democracy is power by the people, for the people, power given by the people, and it should be given back to the people. So for me, for Abia State case, the power the governor has today was given by the people. It's not left for the people to speak if they will re-elect him, and not someone, for me, who arrogantly use statements carelessly. Ben Carlo used to be a leader I admire from afar. I was even making moves to have conversations with him on how I came around young people, but this statement is very, very uninspiring for someone who it's God that gives power, and it takes power too. For someone like him, who I had to go and read his profile, someone who is well read, who has gone to several leadership courses, it calls for questions that maybe he didn't attend those classes, because if he did, he would not be carried away by mediocrity, which I think he's doing already. I think he's oftentimes, most of his political statements he's seeking attention of the president, which for me is not too good. It's not left for the people of Abia State to prove to him what democracy is in the next election.
Well, Elvis,
Yeah.
he's considered as a strong man in Abia State. I mean, you will recall what happened in Rivers State in the 2023 elections, the ability to sway votes by someone who has the machination to do so. Don't you think he's actually staking his claim or putting his mouth where his money is?
No, I think he's taking advantage of the fact that our democratic institutes have not been strengthened, like our electoral processes are not being strengthened. If we have strong institutions, mostly with the electoral body, the likes of Ben Carlos, I'm not sure will be deputy speaker today, not to talk of even deciding who becomes the governor of a particular state, where people elected, where the voices of the people spoke. Let's not forget, to West on the street, he even alluded to the fact that the governor has done very, very well. So why bring in, I was thinking the quest, the hunger is to make Nigeria better and not to talk about because this person is in this party, this person is not in this party. We must commend people that are doing well. And the people of Abia State, they are saying the incumbent governor is doing well. So someone's opinion, someone's mediocratic opinion, for me, it doesn't hold water. Let the people of Abia speak comes 2027.
So then, beyond this, Elvis, okay, go ahead. I need you to wrap up because
I want to see this opportunity to talk to mostly our lawmakers. Nigeria at the moment is sitting on a keg of gunpowder. People are hungry. People are angry. Their statements, their legislation should be inspiring. So it doesn't get to a point where they will have to be buying shoppers to fly to their houses, because at the moment it's a very difficult time to be in Nigeria, not just of a young Nigerian. Our tax fuel their luxury. So you don't come on national TV and use uninspiring statements for people.
Now, Elvis, this speaks more about political and, of course, patriotic morality. It seems deficient, as we've seen it in Africa, so to speak. But then would you clamor for some sort of consequences for statements like this? Because it seems as though our political leaders do not value democracy as it is.
Yes, I think because they've been getting away with statements like this. I think it's time with the Nigerian citizens, make them understand that our tax, without us, they won't be there. If we're in a military regime, the likes of the won't use such statements. That's why I don't subscribe to that. I subscribe to democracy, but it's time we strengthen our democratic process so that we won't have people who ordinarily shouldn't get close to leadership start making statements about the number. Actually, a deputy speaker come out to say, as the number 6 citizens. Who cares if you are the number? You are there to speak on our behalf and not your opinion. So they should be, mostly the leadership of the National Assembly need to be very, very careful the kind of uninspiring statements they make.
Elvis Opobi, thank you so much for your contribution on the news.
Thank you for having me.
Let's move on now. UCEE, a digital-first microfinance bank, has just been launched, emerging from United Capital PLC, a leading investment bank and financial services group. UCEE is set to revolutionize the microfinance landscape. New Central's business correspondent, Perpetua Fasani Peter, was at the launch of the microfinance bank and filed in this report.
As the need to deepen financial inclusion and offer financial services to the economically disadvantaged grows, UC Microfinance Bank establishes itself in the heart of Lagos, intending to extend prosperity to its customers through a wide range of services.
Basically, the objective is about, contributing a quota to increasing the financial inclusion driven by CBN and the within the Nigeria ecosystem.
UC Bank is a bank to extend prosperity to a larger group of Nigerians. UC Microfinance is doing that through technology. Once you have access to technology, your mobile phone, you can benefit from banking services.
Speaking to a cross-section of journalists, the MD-CEO of the Microfinance Bank, Esther Balogun, expressed belief in the bank's unique offerings and strategy.
By the time we launch our USSD code, we would be extending our services to people in the rural area. We also deal with customer in the best ethical manner, and we also ensure that the customers are also enlightened about our products and services.
The event culminated in a ceremonial ribbon cutting by Tony Elumelu, chairman of S Holdings.
You see?
Before this, the chairman expressed full confidence in the UC Microfinance Bank team and management.
What we're doing today is just 1%. for making sure that we help to improve lives, create prosperity, and help everyone in the society in living a more comfortable life is the real test of today's event. So I want to say, on behalf of the HH Group, well done, thank you, and we know you will surpass our collective expectations.
UC Microfinance Bank boasts a wide range of services including loans, savings, deposits, cardless withdrawals, and bill payments. In Lagos, for News Central, I am Perpetua Fasanipita.
From that, we'll tell you that ASUU strikes have become a recurring decimal in Nigeria's education sector, with the Academic Staff Union of Universities issuing a fresh 21-day notice to the federal government. This signals its intent to embark on a nationwide strike if their demands are not met. The education sector may be in another period of disruption. Dashin Usman looks at the impact and underlying structural issues in Nigeria's education system that have led to recurring ASUU strikes.
ASUU strike history began under the military government in Nigeria. The issue has always been on interference and poor funding for tertiary institutions. The 2009 agreement signed with the civilian government of Umaru Musa Yar'Adua on the issue of funding for revitalization of public universities, academic allowances, university autonomy has been bogged down in the area of implementation over the course of several administrations and still remains a contentious issue.
If you don't start prioritizing higher education, these are people who have the skills and knowledge and awareness and the resilience it takes to do research and, of course, talk to the kind of problems we are grappling with as a country. If you don't respect them, recognize them, reward them well, and get them involved in finding solutions to Nigeria's problems, and then even with respect to how to implement those solutions, they are not going to be able to move forward.
A major impact of the incessant strikes in institutions of higher learning is the fact that many students and would-be students have lost interest in schooling or upgrading their qualifications and have resorted to skills acquisition.
My sister then, when she was in school, she left school and then if the ASUU strike hadn't happened, she would have been done. Like, she's done now, but she would have been done before now. So she was supposed to be in 300 level, but she had to start back at 200 level because of the ASUU strike. So it affected her that full year. So she used it and she put business, and she didn't really focus in school. So when the ASUU strike expired, she went back to school, but the zeal was not really there.
Some stakeholders are urging ASUU to see the rot in the education sector as a societal problem and get other stakeholders involved rather than fight alone.
We must make a deliberate effort to listen to ASUU. And one of the things I think ASUU officials can do is to probably stop looking at the problem as their problem. They should recruit other stakeholders in education. Students, parents, employers, and even opinion leaders, traditional leaders. Let's all come in and stop looking at this problem as ASUU's problem. It's society's problem, and we must fix it if we want to overcome our development challenges in a hurry.
With the current 21-day strike notice, ASUU is putting pressure on the federal government to address these long-standing issues which have been pending for years. How the federal government responds to this latest threat is left to be seen. In Lagos for News Central, I'm Dashin Usman.
Coming up on the news, Kenyan Police launches manhunt for psychopath serial killer. We'll tell you more about this after the short break. To stay with us. In the Horn of Africa nation, we tell you that Kenya's Supreme Court has temporarily suspended a lower court ruling that annulled the controversial 2023 Finance Act aiming to maintain stability in government finances. On Tuesday, the country's highest court issued a stay on the July 31 ruling by the Court of Appeal, which had declared the Finance Act unconstitutional, raising concerns about the government's ability to raise tax revenue. The ruling was seen as a significant setback for President William Ruto's administration, already grappling with financial challenges. The Supreme Court's order seeks to preserve the budget's framework while the case is fully examined. New hearings are scheduled for September 10 and 11, where the court will make a final determination. Meanwhile, Kenyan police have launched a major manhunt after a man accused of murdering and dismembering 42 women escaped from a Nairobi police cell on Tuesday, along with a dozen of other detainees. Collins Jumaisi, described by police as a vampire and a psychopath, was arrested last month following the gruesome discovery of mutilated bodies in a garbage dump in Nairobi slum. In a statement, Kenyan authorities disclosed that the breakout was discovered during a routine check at around 5 a.m. while serving breakfast to the prisoners. This marks the second time in just 6 months that a suspect in a high-profile case had escaped from custody.
Today, August 20th, 2024, morning hours, there was an incident of prisoners' escape that happened at Kikiri police station where we are as at now. 13 prisoners escaped from the cells, among them 12 Eritrean nationals who were arrested for being illegally in Kenya, and one male murder suspect, namely Collins Chumaisi Kalusha, who is connected with the Kware murder incident. Our preliminary investigation indicated that the escape was aided by insiders, considering that officers were deployed accordingly to guard the station.
From other continents, we now tell you that Israel's military says the bodies of 6 hostages being held by Hamas have been retrieved from the Gaza Strip on Tuesday. In a statement from the Israel Defense Forces, the bodies of Yagev Bushtab, Alexander Danshig, Avraham Munda, Yoram Mitzga, Chaim Perry, and British-Israeli Nadav Popplewell were recovered from the Khan Yunis area on Monday. Though there was a possibility that Avram Munda was still alive, Israel had previously declared the deaths of 5 of them. The overnight recovery operation was carried out by the IDF alongside the security agency Shin Bet. The 6 men had all been kidnapped from Kibbutz Nir Oz and Kibbutz Nirim near Israel's border fence with Gaza during Hamas's attacks on southern Israel on October 7.
The families of our dear hostages were informed. Then the Prime Minister shared that overnight our brave forces returned the bodies of 6 of our hostages that have been held by the murderous Hamas terrorists: Avram Munda, age 79, Alex Danzig, age 76, Chaim Perry, age 79, Yagev Bushtav, age 34, Yoram Metzger, aged 80, and Nadav Popplewell, aged 51. All of blessed.
Meanwhile, following his meeting with U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu stated in a video that was issued by his office that he aims to release the maximum number of living hostages held in Gaza as part of the first phase of a ceasefire agreement with Hamas. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu says he seeks to free a maximum number of the living hostages over a proposed ceasefire deal with Hamas. The Hostages and Missing Families Forum campaign group, which has previously accused the Israeli side of sabotage, thanked Blinken for his unwavering support alongside U.S. President Joe Biden's administration to finalize the hostage deal.
מאמצים לשחרור מקסימום מספר חטופים חיים כבר בשלב הראשון של העסקה.
Now, divers have on Tuesday spent a second day searching for 6 people believed to have been trapped when a luxury yacht sank off the Italian island of Sicily, including a British tech tycoon, colleagues and his teenage daughter. Recall that the 56-meter sailing yacht Abia was anchored some 700 meters from port with 10 crew and 12 passengers on board when it was struck by a waterspout, a sort of mini tornado, before dawn on Monday. The 6 missing people include Jonathan Bloomer, the chair of Morgan Stanley International, and his wife Judy, as well as UK IT entrepreneur and investor Mike Lynch and his 18-year-old daughter Anna. Patients at surrounding hospitals wait in lines for treatment in a dimly lit pedestrian underground in New Delhi, while Indian doctors stand in protest against the rape and killing of a colleague. Orissa Khatun dreads her son might die without treatment, with doctors from government-run hospitals entering a second week of strikes, withholding non-essential services and demanding justice for their comrade and better security for themselves. 65-year-old Khatun has been anxiously waiting for the past 10 days for an appointment at a top state-run hospital, the All India Institute of Medical Sciences.
हड़ताल बोला कि नहीं है, हड़ताल है नहीं, तो माता जी घर जाइए, आज जब हड़ताल टूटेगा तो फोन करेंगे आपको, तो फोन करेगा जब तो लड़का खत्म हो जाएगा, तो बोला कि ठीक है जब हड़ताल टूटेगा तो आपका ऑपरेशन होगा, आप कब हड़ताल टूटेगा नहीं टूटेगा, कब ऑपरेशन होगा, बच्चा नर्वस भी ले जा रहा है।
We talk sports now. Nigeria Super Eagles goalkeeper Maduka Okoye has signed a contract extension with Italian Serie A side Udinese. The club, via its social media handle on Tuesday afternoon, announced that the Nigerian international has signed a 4-year extension. Okoye joined Udinese from the English Championship side Watford FC last season and has become a household name in Serie A. Several top clubs indicated interest in his service following his superlative performance against the top Italian teams last season. He was in goal for the club last weekend during the opening game of the season. Let's also tell you that Madagascar coach Romuald Rakotondrabe has named a 27-man list which include 4 new players for next month's Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers after concluding a scouting trip to Europe. Madagascar will play its 2 opening matches in Group A, away against top seeds Tunisia on September 5 in Tunis, and then the Comoros Islands at the same venue on September 9. The new call-ups are striker Ryan Ponty, 25 years, from French 3rd Division club US Orleans, and Nicolas Fontaine, a 24-year-old left-winger with Belgian side 2nd Division side La Louvre. Also included is the 29-year-old French-born midfielder Yoann Nzi from Lokomotiv Plovdiv in Bulgaria, and 30-year-old goalkeeper Jordan Dupire, who plays for the Luxembourg club Swift Esperance. And that's all at this hour, but before we go, we'll look at some of our top stories again. NLC warns against harassment over police invitation of Ajaero threatens a nationwide strike. Government to start the sales of crude oil to Dangote Refinery in naira from October 1. We also told you that Kenyan Police launches manhunt for psychopath serial killer. Don't forget to send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number and email on your screen. You can follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can also watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Alvo TV and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Lekan Onabanjo.